Good morning, friends. Hello, hello. It is another joyous day here. Beautiful First Congregational Church. Hope you are grand. Hope that no matter where you are, life is finding you and bringing you some sweetness. Uh, Good morning, friends. Good morning, good morning. It is a beautiful Tuesday morning. Hey, Karen, good morning to you. It is a sweltery summer morning here. The sun is not out, but it is filled with the mugginess that comes from this high summer. Supposedly, it's supposed to break here sometime later in the week, and we'll hope for that because it is hot. Hey, Vicky, good morning to you. Donna, good morning. Glad you're here. Hope you're doing well. Good morning, everyone. Dude, it's a good day. It's a good day. Give it a few more seconds. See a couple more people coming along. So glad everybody's making it in this morning. Hey, Irene, good morning to you. Hope you're doing all right. Good morning, good morning. All right, friends, let's get going this morning. It is the 18th day of July at 11:11, and I am glad you're with us on this Tuesday. It is hot and muggy. That it is high summer, and as it being high summer, this last weekend was Wimbledon, the 108th match of the I think some of the greatest tennis the world has ever known. I'm not a big sports bally guy, but I do like tennis. Hey, good morning, John. That the chance to watch and see one of my very favorite players of all time, Novak Djokovic, play against the young upstart Carlos Alcaraz was a treat. It went nearly 5 hours into 5 sets. One game took them nearly a half an hour to play. It was an incredible contest. It has all those hallmarks of youth versus age, where you have Alcaraz at 20 years old playing the game in some ways better than anybody's played the game. I think in some that at his age, there have been better players, but nobody really at 20. There's only a few that have won it younger, and those are some of the great names of tennis as well. And so this young upstart from Spain, this young Spanish bull, as he's described, is taking on this veteran Serbian in Djokovic. Djokovic having he's this was his 35th time as a finalist in a majors. That he's 7-time champion of Wimbledon. He did an amazing career, unstoried, and yet here you have this great contest of youth and experience. And so it was an incredible match. And as is always the way, eventually, that Alcaraz, the young and comer, won in playing incredible tennis. I'm a big Novak fan. I'm a big Djokovic fan. I'm not as much of an as an Alcaraz fan. He's 20. What does he know? And that's not to be mean to 20-year-olds. It's simply to say there's so much yet to be undiscovered, and some people really love that. But for me, it is it's it. I look at a Djokovic who has proved himself throughout the years. And he so and as you know is always the way, they have the big pageantry at the end, and the Princess of Wales comes out to present the trophies, and here they come to interview Djokovic on Sunday, and he is smiling and really almost joyful. Clearly disappointed. Clearly disappointed. He says, "Oh, good. Good day for Carlos. Not so good a day for me." Like he sees, but he spoke about the game, and he spoke about his loss with grace and with thanksgiving. He said that I probably won a few more than I should have in some ways, because I've gotten lucky at the end of a few matches, and with this incredible humility, which is just one of the things I really like about him. And yet completely often humble, but at the same time clearly established himself as the greatest tennis player in the world. So no humility at all in some ways. So as he talks about this for a few minutes, and then he looks up to the box. He looks up to the box, and maybe if you watched the match, you saw some of this. He looks up to the box, and he says, and the last question that the interviewer asked him before they turn to the champion, and all the attention will go away from him and go on to Alcaraz for the rest of the day. That he looks up at the box. The interviewer asks him about his family, and he looks up at the box and sees there his wife and his 9-year-old son, and it's this point. It's at this point that the smile kind of leaves his face, and his lip quivers, and he becomes emotional. Like he sheds tears. He sheds tears, not for the loss of the greatest tennis match ever. He sheds tears for the thanksgiving of his family. When he turns to his family, and he learns to, and he says, he looks at this 9-year-old who has been trapped in a box for over 5 hours, and is still there rooting for his dad. Is still there when everybody claps for him, he claps with them. When he's still there, and he sees this young face, and he weeps. He sees his wife, and he weeps, and he looks at them with in front of 15,000 people, and he says, "I love you. Thank you for supporting me. I'll give you a big hug, and we can all go home and love each other." Now, I think that's one of the greatest lines ever, and that's the end of the interview. That's one of the greatest things a man could say to his family. He says, "I love you. Thank you for supporting me. I'll give you a big hug, and we can all go home and love each other." Now, he's a Serbian, okay, and English is clearly not his first language. So you could hear that through the lens of an understanding of that maybe he just got his his English a little turned around. That we'll go home and love each other. That seems, for us native English speakers, that might sound even a little gorky in terms of its organization. But here's the thing about Novak Djokovic is he and his entire family are strong Orthodox Christians. He believes deeply and in the way of Christ, and his wife, in fact, has been, when early on, she would actually stay up all night praying for him and lighting candles for him before a match. Not so much anymore, I think, but it had known to happen that they're truly steeped in this understanding that the things that really matter in this life, the greatest tennis match ever played, it's important. It bothered him. But the contact with his family and the seeing his son there kind of gutting it out after 5 hours and still there smiling and supporting his dad and his wife and his family assembled in his box, that moved him to tears. And you can hear the English as if it's a little gorky, I'll give you a big hug and we can go home and love each other. Or the way you can actually understand that is that's exactly the right way to understand it. The Gospel of John, more than any other gospel, and John and his letters gives us this picture of loving one another as the highest thing we can do. Now, here's the thing, and here's our problem in the West versus what I think that the Orthodox Church in the East understands a little better than we do in the West. See, because we in getting captured by the Enlightenment and getting captured by our big brains, and hey, look at the big brain on Brad, like looking at the big ways in which we think we know and we think we understand, the way we think about things. What that also translates into is that if we're not thinking, then we're feeling, and we have all these feelings. I don't feel like it. I don't feel like I want to do this. I don't feel like I don't feel like I want chocolate pudding. I want vanilla pudding. I don't feel like, or I feel in love with you. And so like, like we have all the, that we're contending so much in this divorce. We've in many ways, what the Enlightenment brought us was the divorce of our thought life and our feeling life. And that both end up taking us, when divorced, they both take us into problematic and horrible places. When Novak Djokovic when he says, we'll go home and love each other, he is saying that we'll go home and we'll live out the gospel. Even though he might not be super happy about having lost one of the greatest matches of his life. Even though he might not be super happy about the circumstance in which he found himself in that day. When John writes, and writes again and again and again and again, by the way, John hammers this home both in the gospel and both in all of his letters. He contends this is the single greatest teaching that Jesus has for the world. A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another just as I have loved you. John 13, that you should love one another. Nowhere in there does it say you should feel like it. Nowhere in there does it say you should always have a warm, chocolatey feeling inside. There is no doubt Novak Djokovic was torn up by his loss. But when you put first things first and right things right, and are kind of driven by this logos nature that we can see, and he's not a perfect guy, and this isn't a Novak Djokovic love fest, although it could very easily turn into it. I'm a big fan. What you see in that moment is him understanding that the love of his family, the love of the love that he has for them and that they have for him, is actually bigger than this match, and that it's something he's going to go home and do. That love is a thing that we do. That it is not a thing that we feel. It is not a thing that we understand and consider. Love is a thing that we do. Love is an action verb. We in the West versus the East, they think of it often as an action verb. We actually think of it as a noun. I have love. Oh, I have some love for you. Let me share it with you. Oh, I got to get some love. Oh, I need some love. I wonder if I'll ever find some love, like it's a thing that's out there hiding from us. That love is none of those things. Love is an action verb. Love is a thing that we do. It is a thing that we do with the course of our day. It is a thing that we do with the course of our lives. It is a thing that plays itself out in every waking moment of our day. When we put our feet on the floor and slide our toes into our little bunny slippers and paddle off down the hall to go to the bathroom, that we are now beginning to operate out of love. It is a thing that we are doing in this world. Now, hopefully it's some love for ourselves, and we'll go take care of our biological needs and then head about the day, whatever. But it's right down to the very basic and most fabric, and yet we are constantly giving ourselves an idea that I love this, I don't love that. We're being hijacked often by our preferences, by what Djokovic shows in the midst of this is the wisdom of a life lived out of living life with an action verb mentality. I mean, so I want to read you what John says about love, and I want you to hear it not through your Western ears, but maybe try and put on your Eastern ears. Maybe I should try and say it in an accent. I won't do that to you, but that to hear it through this lens of this is an action that we're being called to. This is a thing that we're going to do. We're going to go home and we're going to love each other. We're going to go home. How many people can say that? How many when you leave work or you leave wherever you're going to, the thing you'll do with your day, and you're going to reunite with your family, or that where you're going to go to church and you're going to meet your friends. So, I'm going to go love those people. I'm going to go home and we're going to love each other. I'm going to go to church and we're going to love each other. I'm going to go to the grocery store and we're going to love each other. Now, you might find some unwilling partners there at the grocery store. I don't know. I don't know what grocery you shop at. But what I do know is that that's a call to action for us. It's like the old thing, like I'd do anything to be able to play guitar, well, except of course, take lessons and practice. It's the same thing. I'd have anything to have love in my life, except of course, actually just do it. I don't care how you feel. I really don't. I mean, I care in the sense that I want joy and goodness and happiness for you, but often our feeling state is not the way to it. It's not going to serve us, nor is our understanding and we just have to get all the pieces right and make sure we've got enough in the 401k and then we can love each other or whatever. It's not going to do it. It's a simple action statement. Hear this. I'm gonna read them all for you. I'm gonna punish you with this. Okay, maybe it'll be more punishment. I don't know, but can the gospel be punishment? I don't think it can. But I want you to hear this litany. I want you to let it wash over you as a real litany. These are all the points in John where he talks about Jesus' words and Jesus' invitation to love each other, and hear this not as a I want a thing I'm going to feel like in my heart. I'm going to have the joy down in my heart, or I'm going to know the right things and the truths of understanding, but that it's simply a thing we're going to do. That on the most, like Novak Djokovic, on the most disappointing of days, and there's no doubt that losing Wimbledon was probably one of his more disappointing days in his life. In the most disappointing of days, we're going to go love each other. Not because we feel all warm and fuzzy and chocolatey inside, but because it's a thing that our God commands us to do. And that is the thing that will bring us home. Here, these are the words of John, both from the Gospel of John and from John's letters. A new commandment I give to you, and that you love one another, just as I have loved you. You also are to love one another. John 13. By this, all people will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. John 15. This is my commandment, that you love one another, as I have loved you. 1 John 3:11. For this is the message that you have heard from the beginning, that we should love one another. 1 John 3. This is his commandment, that we believe in the name of the Son, Jesus Christ. Love one another, just as he commanded us. Beloved, 1 John 4, beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God, and whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. Do you hear it? Can you hear the shift in it? 1 John 4, 11 through 12. Beloved, if God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. No one has ever seen God, for if we love one another, God abides in us, and his love is perfected in us. 2 John 1, now I ask of you, dear lady, not as though I were writing to you a new commandment, but the one we have had from the beginning, that we love one another. Paul picks it up. Peter picks it up. But John 15 encapsulates it all. No greater love has this than to lay down his life for his friends. Now we think about that as a sacrificial, put me on the cross, kind of just give kind of mentality. But the sacrifice, this laying down our lives is not about our It's not about us charging machine gun fire for our squad mates, although that might be how it lives itself out. But we don't charge machine guns all that often in our days, and if you do, you should really reevaluate your life choices. Much more often, our life is made out of incredibly ordinary moments where if we lay down our disappointment, lay down our kind of thinking that we know, lay down our primacy, the primacy of what we believe our stance is, our front row seat, and if we simply lay that down and just love those who are around us, and in the actions of our days, we encounter the holiness of the world. We encounter the holiness that is all around us. Macrina Wiederkind puts it this way. I love this quote. It's holiness comes wrapped in the ordinary. There are burning bushes all around us. Every tree is full of angels. Hidden beauty is waiting in every crumb. Life wants to lead you from crumbs to angels. But this can only happen if you are willing to unwrap the ordinary by staying with it long enough to harvest its treasure. What is staying with it long enough? Staying with it long enough is turning love from a feeling state or a notional truth or idea or a thing that or a noun that we think we have to making it an action verb in our life, and to be the thing that we're going to go do, even on our most disappointing of days. Even when we sure do wish that ball in the fourth set had bounced just a little differently. When we sure do wish that our game had been just a tiny bit better to beat an opponent. I had the gift of being able to stay at the monastery of St. Catherine of Siena. It was not as austere as you might think. It was actually very plush. But downstairs in Siena was still the venerated body, but mostly just the head of St. Catherine. She was beheaded, and her head was still there to be venerated in the Catholic monastery there in Siena. It's in the chapel. It was quite a little thing to say, and where we stayed was kind of just right above it. And St. Catherine is famous for a lot of things, and she was young when she died. But there was so much amazing thought that she left to the world. But one was this, and it's often it's a quote, but it's often given in a circular graphic, and I think it encapsulates this whole journey. She says this: all the way to heaven is heaven. All the way to heaven, all the way to heaven is heaven. All the way to heaven is heaven. All the way to heaven is heaven. Friends, I hope you can take a little love for the game today. Whether it's the game of tennis that I kind of have some affection for, but I think it's the game of our life. The game of our life, to be able to hold even the greatest of things just light enough so that they don't overwhelm us, they don't crush us, they don't break us, that we might hold our losses and our griefs and our struggles just light enough so that they might not prevent us from unwrapping the ordinary and finding the holy in it. They might not hold us back from going home and loving each other, from breaking open the disappointment and the shortcomings of our lives with the things that are to find inside the discovery of the things that are really real, the things that endure beyond time and beyond space, the love that will not let us go, and that we might, in the living of our days, love one another as the action verb that it is. All right, friends, that's my hope for you today. On this Tuesday, we will pick it up tomorrow with another 1111.